Hi, my name is Melissa Jones, and this is my final presentation for Info 424. So visual potential. There are 5 forms of visual potential: numbers, location, appearance, relationship, and time. We'll start with numbers. Number appearances, or number displays, are able to visually allow people to process information, usually through size or color or textures. Uh, I chose to focus on size for this display. In this display, you're able to quickly see that activity levels for men and women, as they increase, so do their ideal caloric intake ranges, and you can see that through the thick bars and the number annotations. Next is location. Locations displays allow you to readily see and process information spatially. So for my locations display, I chose a map of the United States and used a gradient style to show the prevalence of obesity in the United States. The darker shades refer to the states that have a higher prevalence of obesity, and the lighter colors are where obesity is less prevalent. This display was really interesting to me because it really showed that there are certain areas of our country where obesity is much more prevalent than others. Next is my appearance display, which uses recognizable shapes and often a texture to convey information. For my display, I use the recognizable icons for men and women to allow people to see proportionally based on how full they were with the textured area, the values for their rates of obesity by gender, and you're able to quickly absorb the information and see the relationship between genders. And so you're able to see that there isn't a lot of difference between men and women as far as obesity rates go, but men are slightly higher. Next is my relationship model. Relationship models show a relationship of data, usually through overlapping sections. And I tried to take a unique spin on this. The food items that are to the far left are generally higher in fat and sugar contents, and as you progress towards the right, the foods get leaner and more healthy. At the bottom are each of the regions of the United States, based, and they're organized left to right, from the heavier states to the mid-range obesity prevalent states to the lighter states. And you can see that the heavier states, their diet in that region is much heavier, and then as you progress to the lighter states, the states eat more and more lean and healthy foods, which I found really interesting, again, because it really showed that the regions of the United States that are higher in obesity rates tend to eat much heavier and rich foods. The final visual potential is time, and I took a spin on a 12-hour clock. Time displays generally show a pattern and a sequence of things to show a relationship over time. I again chose to make a twist on a 12-hour clock, and it shows what your body needs at certain points during the day. So many people these days, they're worried about what they're eating and less focused on giving their bodies what they truly need at various points of their day to meet their body's metabolic needs. And so I wanted to focus on the different times in the day, what your body needs. And so, like, for example, the red section highlights that it's important to eat breakfast and you need to start your body out right with some food and not to skip breakfast because it gets your metabolic going. Next is encoding. I chose to do quite a bit of encoding, actually. One of the main things that I encoded was I assigned the stereotypical gender colors to encode male and female data. All of the data on my infographic that's referring to male data is blue and the female data is red. Additionally, I encoded heavy and bad for you foods in red, and then counter to that, the healthier states and healthier foods are labeled in green to also encode some trends that way. An area that I feel like I could have used encoding a little bit better was I could have used the stripe texture as a tool for encoding. I just kind of used it as more of a highlighting feature and just kind of an accent to draw attention, but retrospectively I wished I would have used it as an encoding tool. I think it could have been used. Some of my displays didn't have any stripes, some did, and I feel like it could have been a useful tool. Up next is color. What is it used for? I'm going to go over how I emulate it in my model and then the harmony that I used. So the colors I used were the primary colors and then various saturations of the color. I tried to stick to a more saturated and a less saturated version of each color so that I didn't get too crazy with too many colors. And I chose these colors based off of my color model. As you can see here, the color model uses mainly red and green on that light tan background. I chose to take a little bit of creative liberty and utilize the blues and the golden yellow colors a little bit more than my model did. But I did emulate my model with the red banner titles, gray text, the tan background, and then utilizing those other primary colors, the reds, the greens, the blues, and the yellows as accents and highlights throughout my display. I used, my model highlighted the titles with red banners to mark their importance and draw attention to the users, so I modeled that as well. The model used green as an additional accent color, but my model really only had, it didn't have as many call outs and things to point out as I did. In my model, I felt like I had more things to call out, so I felt I needed to use a wider range of the colors and use more of them. So I did take a little bit of creative freedom with the highlighting, but and then as I mentioned above, or not above, before, I encoded with the reds and the greens for healthy and unhealthy, and the reds and the blues for male and female data. I tried to trigger associations with the red and the unhealthy foods being triggering kind of a bad and the green and the healthy to trigger good. In addition, the reds and the blues for males and females. It's just what people know, so I figured I would stick to what was common and people were used to. I chose this color model because I liked that it used so many colors. I also liked how it used very desaturated versions of the primary colors. I thought that the red was bold enough to draw your attention in, but equally, as a whole with all the other colors, it was kind of calming and had kind of an organic feel. The color harmony that I used, I think it closest matches to a split complementary, with the red and green being the complementary colors and the yellows and blues within a narrow range of those hues.